Hello, and welcome to another episode of Abuse Recovery Success. I'm so excited for today's guest. His name is Jay Cash. He's a past NFL player. He's also a business owner and the owner of my gym. And for those of you who know anything about me, you know that I spend a lot of time at the gym. I've had my eye on Jay for quite a while for many reasons, but first and foremost because he's such an inspiration. And I've invited him here today to join us and share with the listeners a little bit about himself and kind of his history and story and what got him here to today. So Jay, welcome to Abuse Recovery Success.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity for you all having me today.
Yeah, of course. Well, tell us a little bit about you. I know you just got back from like 5 trips wrapped into one. So he's going to tell us about that later. But first, tell us a little bit about what made you you and how you got here today.
You know, it's been a journey. A lot of people will come from similar backgrounds to myself, will use that as a crutch or an excuse to not really do much of anything in life.
Sure.
But I use that as a catalyst to put me in a position to know where I came from and never where I wanted to go back to. I was born and raised in Miami. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma. Not many people would look at me now and see any of that.
Yeah.
They just automatically assume, oh, he had this handed to him, he had that handed to him with the NFL. Oh, it was fine. But I mean, very few people actually make it to the NFL, and that was a great opportunity for me. But like I said, I was born and raised in Miami. Never met my dad. My mom had different guys just coming in and out of the household, and it was just an abusive. It was from a mental standpoint, a physical standpoint. We were never really close. I have an older brother. He experienced most of that childhood trauma initially, as he obviously was older. And I really didn't understand. And it wasn't until he actually moved out of the house that all of that anger and rage was now geared towards me. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. But I understood that, hey, instead of asking why is this happening to me, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? Eventually, obviously, I went off to college, went to Duke University. I got my undergrad and my master's degree from Duke. Obviously, didn't use either one of those. But athletics was, obviously, I played that at Duke, played football there. But athletics was something that was kind of my, it was a passion of mine.
Yeah.
It gave me the opportunity. It was an outlet where some of those built up emotions I could actually expel onto other people to their dismay. But it was fun. I won many accolades while I was in college. The camaraderie that you build with your teammates and your coaches in the locker room, it was a great experience. From there, went on to play in the NFL. I played 4 years. Most of my career, I was in Carolina playing for the Panthers. And unfortunately, I suffered a significant knee injury. It took about 2 years to kind of fully recover from that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I decided to open both my wellness center and my gym, to help others who want to remain active and live those active lifestyles, who may have suffered an injury and kind of isn't there. I want to be that medium point where I can sit there and enjoy life, but not have to worry about the pain and the setbacks that could potentially go on with it. Therefore, now that's what I pretty much all I do in my travels. I'm a solo traveler who really wants to enjoy all the different things and aspects of life that it has to offer. So I do many adventurous things, whether it's cliff diving in Peru. No, excuse me, that was actually in Costa Rica. I hiked Machu Picchu in Peru. I went hang gliding in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I've been pretty much all over the world, and it's been a great opportunity.
Yeah.
It truly has been a blessing.
That's really awesome. Well, okay, I want to dig in on a few things. So when we were talking about your childhood and you kind of, you breezed over the brother and just how that kind of all shifted for you and being in that household, I guess my first question, it's kind of sports related. Sometimes when you hear about people that live in chaos and trauma and maybe where it isn't one of those households where it's all about the child and their activities.
Yeah, there's no nuclear family where you have people there at your game supporting you. Wasn't that?
So how did you even, did you just go out and find these sports and get yourself there? Or how did this whole thing happen?
Initially, obviously, when I was in school, we had different...
You could try out.
Yeah, we had tryouts, but we also had, I want to say kind of like field days.
Sure.
where you would do different races or play some flag football, and then from that point, people actually saw I had some talent.
Yes,
I had a chance.
Yeah, they wanted you.
And then it just gradually grew from there, where I started playing Pop Warner when I was very young. I want to say probably about 7 or 8 years old. And eventually, over time, I've gotten opportunity after opportunity, which finally led to when I was making that transition from high school to college. I think I ended up with about 30 some odd offers from different colleges and universities to attend and play football at. And I actually went to Ohio State first. We had some stuff went down with some of my teammates there for all of my coaches got fired.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I transferred over to Duke, because I understood that this much of your life is football, is going to be your sports. But then once that's over, you have still this much left to live of life. And I understood that my education was going to take me a lot further in life than athletics ever would.
Okay, so one of my favorite books is by Angela Duckworth, and it's Grit. And I just love it because it talks a lot about how it's such a differentiating factor in all of us that kind of takes us to that next level. And what I'm hearing you say is that even though you didn't have that family nucleus and you were kind of just left to your own accord, at the end of the day, you had some talent in these things and you just continued to push yourself. Would you say that it was also an escape from you for like to get away from kind of whatever's going on at home, a way to funnel, like you said, some of the hostility and anger, but also a way to kind of find validation somewhere else?
Absolutely, because like I said, we didn't have, well, I can't say I didn't have individuals who would show up on my game cheering for me, but to be a part of a team and then you have other parents and your teammates cheering for you, I mean, it was a great feeling.
Yeah.
It's something that you really didn't come across all too often. So to have that there, I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this. You're in athletics, you're kind of in that college level. Was there any point where you found yourself kind of in that party lifestyle, or have you always been able to kind of steer away from that?
No, partying was honestly nothing I ever really got into. Yeah. I just was in Prague. I actually had my first beer ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ever. At 28 years old.
Oh, wow.
First beer ever.
Yeah. Okay. So now, and so, I'm just curious, right? Because as somebody who comes from, a really heavy trauma background, unfortunately for me, partying was the way to go. Like, that was a great escape for me. I guess I wasn't a football star. But, at the end of the day, it was a great way to numb things, to feel like you fit in, to just kind of, I don't know, escape in some way. But I'm really impressed and in awe of, like, you just never really falling for that. And so you said you didn't have the beer. Did you ever feel like peer pressure? Was there anything at home that made you like want to stay away from that? Like, was alcohol or drugs around you as a kid, or not really?
No, my mother, she worked in the Department of Corrections.
Oh, okay.
So she was very hardened.
Okay.
It was tough love. So seeing everything that she dealt with on a day-to-day basis at her work environment, she would kind of bring that same mentality home.
Yeah.
So that would kind of force me, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
I'll respectfully decline.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then now in your later life, though, you are involved with some nightclubs, though, right?
Yes.
So what is that like? So why, and then, you do a lot. So tell, as listeners, they might be thinking like, wow, this guy's really overcome a lot. And now here you are. Why do you do so much? Tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, I just have an incessant need to always be doing something.
Okay.
Because knowing where I came from, I understand I never want to go back there.
Yeah.
And while there's a lot that I've experienced, from a financial standpoint, I have been kind of propelled in a right direction with not only my businesses, but even before that, my professional athletic career. I still thinking there's something can always go wrong.
Yeah.
At any time you could need something, you would have to pay for something, and fortunately I'm able to afford that, but I don't want to always be relying on that. So all pretty much my finances from playing in professional athletics, I don't even bother with that. Everything that I use now is from my current businesses. Okay. And why do you do the nightclub scene? Do you like it? Because I would almost kind of think, if I personally now, I don't really party, like I can't handle that much, like those people act crazy, does it wear on you, or is it kind of entertaining, or what is it? It kind of fills that void because I don't party.
Okay.
I do find some sense of thrill by watching other people party and some of the crazy things that you see go on in a nightclub. As the manager, I mean, I don't really involve myself personally with all that. I'm never one to judge. By all means, you can go have your fun, but I know at the end of the day, I'm here to do my job, and I get paid well to do my job, and I just take it for what it is.
Okay. So, do you have any really funny stories for us from, like, what's the most, because you work at one, for all of our listeners, there's actually, we're in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Scottsdale has some pretty crazy nightlife, and they have a pool, it's a club, it's a day club, it's a beach. What's something crazy that's happened there?
We've seen quite a bit of explicit things that have happened.
Yeah, have you had to like get people out of that pool?
No, I don't have to worry about that. I just simply make a call over the radio to my security and they go handle that.
Oh my gosh, totally. Okay, so let's say there's a listener who maybe had, some of the similar experiences in the childhood and they feel like, because you took it and you put a positive spin on it. You took it, and like you said, I think you did a quote a while back that really stuck out to me that was something along the lines of, it was like how you change, like you basically, what you said earlier, you look back on things so that you can never be like that. And some people complain about maybe the cards they're dealt, but you can reshuffle the deck. I think that's what you said.
Because, I mean, you can always use an excuse for anything. Yeah. But why? Mm-hmm. And it won't get you anywhere. Mm-hmm. There are situations in life that you simply cannot control. Yeah. So I don't complain about them. I'll just go with the flow. Because my philosophy is if life always went according to plan, it'd be boring. Yeah. So instead, I just roll with the punches and understand that, hey, this is happening for some reason. May not know today, tomorrow, anytime soon. Yeah. But I understand that, hey, I got to overcome this obstacle. This adversity is going to end at some point. Because if you can make it through the night, there's going to be a brighter day. Yeah. And I love it. And so for the listeners that have, even if it's more like you struggled with addiction and you want to make something of your life, what you have to understand is that there's more to it. A lot of these people that you see out here with success, they've acquired things. Maybe they have nice cars, they own businesses, whatever it might be. You don't always know the backstory on that and that person and the struggle that it takes. And there's one of my favorite things is you are rewarded in public for the work you do in private. And it's like, somebody said to me, oh, I know. So with the new location that I'm building for my med spa wellness center kind of salon, I decided to be the designer on the job. And I've never designed anything before. And there were so many times I'd be sitting there thinking, like in the mental talk to myself, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, you can't do this. And then I'd be like, no, you're going to do it, right? Horrible, like lost nights of sleep, whatever, got through it. And I was touring one of my reps the other day and she's like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Did you design that? Or she's like, who was your designer? Did you design this? And I was like, yes, I did. And it was a very short moment and then it was over. And I was like, but I did all that for that moment, because I really did want, when people ask that, like I get to say I designed this myself. So I think what people don't realize sometimes when you're stuck and whether you're in the pain of that addiction or that trauma, you feel like there's no opportunity out there. There is, but you're going to have to take that next step and it might require a lot of struggle and a lot of hard work. And I think you're the epitome of that. 100%. So often I find when I speak to other individuals, they're looking for that instant gratification. It really just, life doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I'm one who always plays the long game. Yeah. Understand that, hey, it might not get done this night, might not get done the next night, but eventually I'm going to get to that point where I'm going to look back and be like, hey, it was all worth it. Yeah. Like you, when it came to your design, once you asked who designed it, you got that sense of gratification, right? I did this. Yeah. This was all me. For sure. Let me ask you this. So now you've got, I think, the gym, the wellness center, you're managing those nightclubs. Because later we'll talk about travel, but what's next professionally for you? Like, what is your mind going towards? What are you thinking? Are you kind of, where's Jay going next? Not on the trip yet, in work. Right now, it's actually cars in Turo. Okay. A lot of people don't understand the value of Turo. Yeah. Frankly, I don't know if a lot of people actually know what it is. I do, yeah. I love it. So there are some people who want to drive nice cars, which it's all fine and dandy. Yeah. But then you got to worry about paying for it. You got to worry about maintenance and whatnot. With Turo, it's quite similar to an Airbnb of a car. Yeah. I could frankly purchase a car and essentially just rent it out to people a handful of times out of the month, and they can pay they basically be paying the car payment, any maintenance that needs to be done on the car, and I'm basically driving my car for free.
Yeah, I love that. I thought about that the other day because actually, I think I told you I've been waiting for the dang Taycan for 5 months, and so now it's delayed again. So they gave me a loaner, but. So at one point I was looking like, oh, maybe I'll just rent a car on Turo. And I was like, wow, this is expensive.
Yes.
Like, and then I was like, I should do that and make money off of it. So basically, guys, yeah, it's like an Airbnb for cars. It's pretty cool. And you're a car lover. You've got some amazing cars.
When I travel, I mean, that's pretty much what I do with my cars.
Yeah.
My truck obviously is my daily driver. Otherwise, my cars just sit in the garage. While most people would see that as a liability, I see my cars as an asset because they're making me a form of passive income. Because all I have to do is take some pictures of the car and give them the keys. Turo's an insurance company. If there's any damage to the car, Turo covers it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really good. I didn't know that. Okay, well, that's something. So, guys, maybe you want to get into that. Okay, Jay, what are you feeling like for traveling? And I guess here, I'm going to ask you the question because I've been watching some of your trips and I'm like, oh, so for me, I don't know that I want to travel alone like that, and you're really into it. So tell us a little bit about, I think you mentioned to me offhand that COVID kind of started your traveling, but what are you finding? Like, tell us the good and the bad side of this solo traveling and tell the listeners they don't know about this solo traveling.
I mean, growing up, you would always read in textbooks about different places all over the world, whether it's the Great Wall of China, pyramids in Egypt, Christ the Redeemer in Rio. These are different seven wonders of the world that you could only hope and imagine to see. Me, I'm taking it to the next level and going out and experience it firsthand. Traveling, it really fuels a fire and a passion inside of me. Doing some of the different various adventures while I am traveling, it kind of fills that need for that adrenaline rush. I don't play football anymore, but I mean, it's still a great opportunity to see the world and experience new cultures and meet new people. It can be nervous. It can make a lot of people nervous, rather, doing this, especially doing it alone. But I mean, it's a great opportunity because it gives me a sense of empowerment where, I mean, it's no different than my upbringing. I've been alone for quite some time, and it's a vast difference between being alone and being lonely. I have no problem doing things alone because then at that point, I'm not waiting on anyone, and anyone is not waiting on me. And one thing I hate doing is wasting time.
Oh, okay. You're not a time waster now. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe some daily practices that you have, because that kind of inspired that thought for me. You're not a time waster. How do you stay balanced? Because even though traveling can be relaxing, for me it can be exhausting, and then you come back and then you've got these businesses, and whether you've got great management, how do you stay centered and grounded and all that?
Fortunately for me, I can do all my business remotely.
Okay.
I do enjoy going to my gym and my wellness center just to simply show face. But otherwise, like when it comes to making sure payroll's done, or if there's a piece of equipment that needs to be ordered, all that can be done over the internet. Simply a phone call, a text message, or an email. So from that standpoint, it's really not a bother at all.
Yeah. Okay. And what would be like habits that you have? So you like to work out a lot, we can tell. And so what do you do? Like, do you work out on the trips, or, how do you stay grounded in between things? And you have a dog, right?
Yes.
So who takes care of the dog?
So I actually have a roommate. Okay. She takes care of my dog. Alternatively, my dog actually has been to a handful of countries, especially pre-COVID.
Okay.
She's a world traveler as well.
Okay.
But I definitely do work out while I'm on trips. I typically, for the most part, I try not to take public transportation because I try to pick places that have good weather at the time, and I walk everywhere. And I would say probably Peru might have been the worst walk ever. It's full of stairs. I told on one of my stories when I was there, I was thoroughly convinced everyone's in great shape. Because between the altitude and the amount of stairs they have everywhere, man, it's impossible not to be. I always have my my Apple Watch on me, and it obviously counts all my steps. On any given day while I was in between the Czech Republic and France, I was walking at least 6 miles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a lot. And you ate a lot of great food.
And that's how I justified that. That is how I justified everything. Prague, as far as the food scene, it was great. It was great from the quality of food, at the price point in which it was at. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
It's just interesting the difference in priorities where people place those, whether you're in a place like Prague or here in the United States. We would look at that as, hey, those things are cheap over there. And granted, it is, but from their financial standpoint, they don't make that much.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So being here and then us taking our fortune and going over there, they would be fantastic.
Yeah. Did you find that people were pretty friendly in all these places?
Most definitely. I did go out one night. It was very interesting.
Really?
Very interesting. They have no filter.
Oh,
wow. A lot goes on there.
Oh, yeah.
And things stay open at 6 a.m.
Oh, my God.
I think that would definitely take years off of my life if I were to do that every weekend, how I know some of those people do. But they actually spoke English. I mean, it was great. They were very warm and welcoming, especially when I go out to eat. One thing I don't like to do is try to order my own food. One, because I can't understand the language that the menu is in. But two, I just try to be one of the locals and ask either the chef or my waiter, hey, what are something that's typical to your cuisine or to your culture, and whatever that is, I want to taste that. I want you to bring that to me. Unfortunately, that kind of, to an extent, kind of backfired on me when that's how I ended up having that beer. Yeah. After that, I'm like, yep, this definitely isn't for me.
Yeah,
but sure. At least I tried it.
Yeah,
at least I tried it. And probably the craziest thing I ever tried was when I was in Peru. Their delicacy is actually guinea pig.
Oh no! That's so horrible. You ate it?
I did try it. It was interesting.
I had a guinea pig when
exactly. That's why most people were like, "No, I can't do it. I can't." I had a pet guinea pig. God. It's like me eating Chester. Can't do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that one of the things that does define you, at least at this moment and this time in your life, is how comfortable you are with yourself, and I think that's an admirable thing. And I guess last thing is, if you could maybe, because again, we have some listeners that have gone through struggles in life, what would be a tip for someone who's struggling with being comfortable with themselves? How did you kind of start that journey? What would you tell them?
When I started that journey, it really took me finding what made me happy, something that I was passionate about. One thing I've gotten into a lot more recently is starting each Monday with a goal. Okay. And not just simply saying it out loud, but writing it down. Your mind is such a powerful tool, and actually truly seeing is believing. Yeah. And act upon that goal. What are the steps you're going to take on a day-to-day basis to make sure you achieve that goal? It might seem silly to a lot of people. I know me in my younger age, I'm like, no, this is crazy. But it's really powerful. And my goal for this week, obviously, I'm planning for my next trip, which will be done at the beginning of October. I'm going to see another one of the 7 Wonders of the World. Oh, wow. So I am simply going through the process of, hey, while I am there, what's some of the local cuisine? What's this restaurant I want to check out? So that's how I'm really putting in the day-to-day actions to achieve that goal, to make sure this is a great trip.
Sure. I love that. Okay, so before we part ways, I'd like you to share with the listeners, because now they're probably super curious about all these trips, and it's fun to watch and follow along. So how can they find you, follow you, share all your social media stuff?
You can follow me on Instagram. My tag is jcash_16.
All right. Perfect. Well, thank you, Jay, for being a guest. It's been a pleasure having you. I think this has definitely been one of my more uplifting episodes, and for that, I thank you. And to the listeners, thank you for joining us on another episode of Abuse Recovery Success. You can always find us at abuserecoverysuccess.com. You can follow me at April_the_hills on both TikTok and Instagram, or you can catch up on episodes on YouTube under April Hill. Have a wonderful day.